Hey dude, it's that time of the year. You want me to do your playoff picks again? You kidding? I got killed last year because of you. Oh, come on, dude. On paper, those were pretty good picks. You picked Winnipeg to win it all. Oh, come on. They were due. I love this time of year. You can actually start thinking about things like, you know, the summer. Go to a restaurant with your friends and you're like, hey, it's getting warmer. Let's sit on the patio. And that lasts for about 5-10 minutes before you go inside because it's still too cold. But you go, oh, next week, I hear it's going to be nice. And we can talk about the playoffs. 16 teams go in, but only one comes out on top. And in terms of who the teams are, what they've done this season, where they finished at the end of the regular season, blank slate now. So there's 8 series going on. Let's take a quick look at all of them. By the way, I'm not going to make any predictions because I always end up, being wrong. Anaheim and Nashville. Now, despite being 4th in the West, Anaheim was barely in a playoff spot with a few days remaining. They have the exact same amount of points as their first round matchup in Nashville and actually Phoenix too. And it's great because you got guys like the Finnish Flash still going in Teemu, Corey Perry ripping it up versus one of the most underrated defensemen going in Shea Weber and one of the most underrated goalies going in Pecorino. Pittsburgh versus Tampa Bay. Now, even though they finished a pretty decent 4th and 5th in the East respectively, I think both of these teams were expected to finish higher. I mean, at least based on how the first half of the season went. But despite all their injuries, Pittsburgh held in there and they still finished 4th to take on Steven Stamkos and the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the story of this series to me is Steven Stamkos. It's hard to imagine that he played in all 82 games, got 91 points, and people said he slowed down. And it's true, he didn't quite get the same amount of points as he did at the beginning of the season. But you look at his numbers and go, maybe he just did that to be nice. But the reason he's the key is every single one of those 91 points does not matter anymore. And what matters is how he applies everything he's trained for, everything he's learned into the playoffs. Because a top form Steven Stamkos is a scary thought. Detroit and Phoenix. Obviously a rematch from last year, and Phoenix wants their revenge. And it went to Game 7 last time. And the question becomes, can Phoenix contain the relentlessly consistent beast that is Detroit? Because there's 8 playoff spots in the West, but every year Detroit makes it seem like there's 7. Because they just make it every time. Now, Boston and Montreal. Perhaps the best rivalry in all of hockey. And it got a lot more vicious this year. And Boston just looks like a stronger team, and everyone's already writing off Montreal. As they did last year when they became one of the final 4 teams.
Be careful.
PK Subban was a huge story as a rookie last playoffs. Or I guess a pseudo-rookie because he's going into the playoffs again and it's his rookie season. And what made him so good last year is even though he was a pseudo-rookie, he wasn't just there. PK can't play a quiet style. He's got to make noise. And of course, the legendary goaltending they got last year has got to be replicated from the guy who watched most of it from the bench. San Jose versus LA. A healthy Los Angeles team stands a much better chance in this series.
That hurt. Ooh.
But every year it seems to be close but no cigar with San Jose. They gotta finally show the league some teeth. I'm glad when San Jose makes the playoffs though, because it means I get to use this in a video again. Speaking of San Jose and Los Angeles and Anaheim, I've heard this a bunch of times and I'm sick of hearing it. There are 3 California teams and 2 Canadian teams. True statement, but I hate when people are like, oh, California's better represented in the playoffs than Canada is. Look at the rosters. No, it's not. We're friendly people, but when it comes to hockey, we get pretty defensive. Philly and Buffalo. Now this is a weird one because Philly's 2nd, Buffalo 7th. Yet, Philly was the coldest team to make the playoffs over their last 10 games. And Buffalo was the hottest. But like I said before, it's almost like a brand new season's beginning. And did Buffalo wear themselves out? We'll have to see. Vancouver, Chicago. The end of the season, Vancouver's got to be like, yes, we're the best team in the league. Now, who do we face? And then someone broke the news. Make it stop! 2 straight years of hearing that goal song, and it just gets stuck in their brain. But this year, it looks like Vancouver will finally get their revenge. You can never write Chicago off. They're the defending champs. Now, something key for the Canucks, we know who's going to score for them. The Twins, Kessler. And while they get huge amount of points, you got to get some secondary scoring too. So for example, if a guy like Mason Raymond starts scoring too, ooh, that's going to be a fun series. And last but not least, Washington versus New York. Now, Washington killed it down the stretch. And everyone's saying, oh, New York backed into the playoffs. Which you would think means Washington's supposed to walk all over New York, right? Well, if you paid attention to the season series at all this year, you'd know that New York beat the ever-loving snot out of Washington on more than one occasion. But I've said it more than once, and maybe this is a good note to end on. It's not the regular season anymore. And what happened in the past is in the past. And I really want to know what you think will happen, but the only people that control the fate of these teams are the teams themselves.